Hey, good morning, everyone out there. Happy Sunday to you guys. So, I want to start off today's live chat just to make sure everything's running properly. Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me properly and if you can see me properly so that I know that everything's working. Excuse me. Well, as you can see, uh, cold is coming on today, so please forgive me if I have to sneeze from time to time. Don't worry, as far as I know, it's not the coronavirus. That's really nothing to joke about. Seems like the virus is in the news all over the place right now, and I hope nobody that you guys know out there is affected by this. Hopefully, it will get under control, but it seems like the Chinese government is really up against something quite extraordinary here. I think latest news on the virus is that it's 300 people confirmed dead and another, I think it's 15,000 people confirmed infected. So it's pretty crazy. Luckily, nothing's been confirmed in my neck of the woods yet, but everybody's taking precautions to stay to make sure that nobody that is traveling to China and coming to Canada is infected by quarantining them, and I think this is the right approach. So hopefully this thing doesn't become bigger than it should be and everything boils over just like it did with the swine flu and H1N1 and all these crazy viruses that are going around. I think primarily we're, intertwining a lot of different things that are causing these viruses now to mutate and pop up from time to time. Luckily, there hasn't been anything too major that has hit us, but everyone seems to be waiting for the big one, that big, zombie apocalypse type thing. Hopefully, that never happens. And in the meantime, we're dealing with local little colds and stuff like that locally here. So nothing too serious, thankfully. So who's out there today? Can you guys hear me all right? Please let me know. Just give me a comment to make me know that things are loud and clear on your end, please. So we can start off this Sunday morning live chat on Addicted to Gear. I still haven't gotten a good grasp of this software, and it seems like everything's under control on my end, but it's hard to tell sometimes. Let's go under. There's a couple of settings here I'm not that familiar with. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about a couple of things with you guys today and just go over the latest news and trends and all that kind of stuff. Kim, thank you for letting me know that you can hear me all the way from Denmark. Wow, what time is it over there, Kim? You must be up late. Hey, Vox Guitars Rock, nice to see you again. Thank you for joining me. I know there's a few other people online at the same time here, so don't be shy. Say hello to the gang so we can start off the session and talk about what's good. I guess the big news for today being Super Bowl Sunday is that everyone's going to probably be having crazy Super Bowl parties with their friends, and I'm wondering how many of you guys are Super Bowl or football fans. Myself, I'm not a big football fan. I'll probably catch part of the Super Bowl, but I'm really not into football very much. I hardly know who's playing. I know it's the 49ers and the Chiefs, I think it is, right? So how many of you are going to be watching the Super Bowl today? I know a lot of people are big Super Bowl fans. My rhythm guitarists rhythm guitarist for my band is a big Super Bowl fan, so if he's watching, a big shout out to him. And I know we usually jam on Sundays because it's a quiet day and the rehearsal studios are not usually packed up on Sundays. But today we're postponing because Mike, he's watching the Super Bowl. He's a big Super Bowl fan, so I'm sure he's going to have a great time today. And we'll see what happens. Who are you guys betting on? If you guys are Super Bowl fans out there. Vox Guitars Rock says he prefers real football, CFL. Yeah, there's definitely less hoopla around the CFL. I agree with you on that one. Apparently, the funny story on the Super Bowl, I don't know if you guys know this, but the very first Super Bowl one, was recorded, I don't know what year that was, but apparently they destroyed all of the actual tapes that they had on that Super Bowl. They actually, I guess in those days, the actual tapes that they were using to record the live events were pretty expensive, and so they recorded some soap operas over Super Bowl one, over the original tapes. And there's one guy that happened to record the event. I guess he was probably somebody who had access to the very early recorders at that time because they weren't very popular. Anyways, he recorded this event, Super Bowl, the very first Super Bowl event, and he ended up keeping the tapes. And he passed away, and he left the tapes to his family. And now the family wants to sell the tapes because it's the only copy of that event in existence, right? And the people from the Football Association offered him $30,000 for the tape, and apparently this tape is worth over $1 million easily because it's a part of history. And so they're kind of lowballing the guy. They don't want to pay him, and he's hanging on to it, and they're offering him $30,000 because they figure that's probably what their lawyer fees would end up costing them if they would take him to court, because they're arguing that it's his property. It's their property, right? And so he should hand it over. Isn't that crazy? But good for them. I'm glad that they're holding on to it and they're not, giving up to the man, the people that have all the power out there. Unfortunately, they're just taking advantage of the little guy. And honestly, come on, it's a piece of history, man. It's definitely worth over $1 million easy. So, anyways, shout out to him. Hopefully he sticks to his guns and he ends up getting a good payday out of it. So Kim's Workshop says it's 4:02 p.m. in Denmark. Nice. Glad you can join us today. I thought it would be later than that, but it's actually not too bad. So, and Kim says he prefers watching Formula One. I do too. I like watching Formula One and I like watching soccer. So, how popular is soccer there in Denmark? I'm sure it's pretty popular. And Devil Shoes is in the house, and he's all the way in Portugal. Wow. So we're getting an international crowd here today. It's pretty cool. Very nice. Sorry, I gotta just wipe my nose. Unfortunately, I've been tough all this time and haven't come down with anything till now, so I'm hoping it's just dust in the air or something like that, but we'll see. So guys, beyond the Super Bowl, today we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff like we always do, and I don't want to necessarily be a one-sided conversation, so please feel free to ask some questions. If you have anything you want to talk about specifically, gear, guitars, stuff that's in the news, feel free. It's kind of an open platform. It doesn't have to, only revolve around gear, but that's the main topic, of course, because addicted to gear. That's the reason why we're here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some stuff that I had in mind. And basically, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because it's something that I find intriguing. a lot of the YouTubers that have a channel about gear out there talk about gear and talk about guitars, and it's really a passion for them. And the reason why they got into this is probably because, they have a drive to either become a musician, or they are musicians, or, there's some music that they heard very early on when they were younger that basically drove their passion, and they, said, hey, I want to do that. That's what I love. That's what I want to spend my time and energy on. And I'm curious to know, this is the question I have for the top of the video. I'm curious to know, all of you guys out there, what inspired you to actually pick up an instrument and play? Was it a family member? Was it a show that you watched? Was it a specific band or song or something that happened very early on in your life? I'm just curious, because there's always that trigger, and we don't often talk about it, but it's probably the pivotal point for us enjoying music, and myself, I didn't necessarily come from a musical family at all. My parents don't play any musical instruments at all. And for me, I just always had that interest in guitar from a very early age. And it's funny because it happened that I realized that when I went over to a friend's house when I was young. I was probably about 8 years old, around there, and his brother was a musician. He played squeeze box. What do you call that? Accordion. And he would play his accordion and practice his accordion often in this house because he was actually a very good player. That's Anthony. Big shout out to my buddy Anthony. And he had a guitar in the corner of his room, and I used to be good friends with his younger brother, so we were always playing, with toys and stuff and video games and whatnot. And there was always this acoustic guitar on the stand in the corner of the room, and it always drew me in for some reason. I still remember it was an Aria acoustic guitar. And, while my buddy was playing video games, I'd be like strumming this guitar. I didn't really know how to play guitar at that point. So it was the type of thing where it was just strumming random notes. But it definitely spoke to me for some reason. And I was always very intrigued by the instrument. I don't know why, but I guess that was the start of it. And then, of course, when I was in high school, there's definitely something that happens between 10 and 13, I would say, where young boys, the hormones start to like bubble up, and you take it, you're starting to pay attention to girls and whatnot, and you definitely want to have an edge and show that you can do something different. And I guess that's also a pivotal thing in a lot of teenagers when they want to learn how to play instruments, basically to get that feedback from the opposite sex. That's always something that I notice. And then, of course, there's the music, right? For me, it was bands like Led Zeppelin, like Van Halen, these big rock bands of the day. They definitely had a big influence on me, especially Led Zeppelin. My sister would listen to the Rolling Stones a lot, and I had some of her Stones records. Early influence was definitely the Beatles for me. The first album I ever bought was a Beatles album. It was a Beatles double compilation, and I went to Sam the Record Man and I bought that album, the double album. I think it cost me $16 or something like that at the time. So they were definitely a big influence for me. They still are. And the funny thing is, my wife claims that was also the first album that she bought. And of course, this is before we knew each other. So I guess there's something to be said about similar tastes in music. So Kim's Workshop says, I got a guitar from my mother, so I thought I'd better play it. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to let your mother down. Come on. She's the most important woman in your life. And Vox Guitars Rock also says, my mother played, she showed me some chords, then I saw Angus Young and that was it. Had to pick up an SG and learn some power chords. I get you. I get you. You know what? I still admit that AC/DC has surprised me because they've stuck around for so long. They've stayed true to their original roots and they're still rocking, right? And Angus is getting old there and he's still moving. And I've heard that there's going to probably be a reunion. And you know, when the singer announced that he had hearing problems, that he couldn't tour anymore, I thought that was it. And then when Angus's brother died, I figured that was it. But then you know, he still went on tour. He got together with Axl Rose, and he was doing it all himself. He was carrying the weight of that tour entirely on his shoulders, and I thought that was very admirable. I thought that was super heroic of him. That's a big thing to do. Kim's Workshop. Well, I'm just curious. Why are you using that name? Do you have a guitar workshop, or why do you use Kim's Workshop? What do you do? Vox Guitars Rock says, first album I bought was Johnny Cash, Men in Black. Johnny Cash is, he's history, man. A lot of people don't appreciate Johnny Cash and his music. Definitely watch the movie Walk the Line if you don't know much about Johnny Cash. He's had a very, very interesting life for sure, and his music, speaks volumes about things that he's been through in life. And he's the type of guy that just basically, said it as it is and didn't take any shit from anyone. So definitely an icon in my book. What about the rest of you guys? What influenced you guys to play music? Just curious. And what, is it a band? Is it a person in your family? When I was in high school, definitely was Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, the Stones, the Beatles, those type of bands. And, even today, I still enjoy listening to that music. And I figured out that a lot of the bands that I like, that really inspired me, often played stuff that I couldn't play. They just inspired me to try and play. Even the Stones. You would think that the Stones are very simple in terms of the music that they play, but it always stumped me because I never realized when I was younger that Keith Richards was playing with a capo and alternate tunings like open G and all kinds of different things. And so when I would try to play the Stones songs, they would never sound the same. And it always intrigued me, saying, why can't I play these songs? Why don't they sound the same? And I finally realized after so many years why. And it's a lot easier today to play those songs, but it kept me interested, and it was almost like a black magic voodoo. Like, why are these guys able to play these songs that seem pretty simple? But I can't, And of course, Van Halen, the same thing. I mean, he had super fast chops, and even today, I'm not a quick player. I can't play very fast. And Van Halen was always one or two or three steps above everyone else in terms of his playing style. That always kept me intrigued as well. So they were big influences. And then the Beatles with their, the way they would compose their music with the classical influences built around the song, and interesting things being played backwards, and cool lyrics, and just the amount of sheer volume that they put out in terms of music was very, very influential to me. And just the harmonies and everything, the way they were playing together, and the Paul and John Lennon, combination was perfect. One was positive, one was negative, one had, lighter lyrics, the other one had darker lyrics. It just, I guess they remind me of Doritos, they have that, yin and yang thing. You know, you eat a Dorito and it's got like, it's salty but it's sweet. You know, it's spicy but it's not. It's crunchy and it has all of the elements that everybody likes. And same idea with the Beatles. They can play some very old-fashioned type music, classical music, heavy rock music, and it was all intertwined. It was pretty cool. And all that being done on a 4-track recorder in the day. Could you imagine? With no special effects, with no, auto tune, with no computers that you can use to splice the music. Everything was done by hand, recorded in the studio. There was no sampled sounds like they have today, or drum machines, or sequencing of the beat so you can get the beat straight on the note. And that stuff is gone, and that's like the rawness of the music that really drives a lot of people to enjoy listening to that stuff till today. We got a comment in that it says Luther Perkins was amazing. What he played sounds real simple, but it's not. And that's reality. And a lot of bands today that I like is exactly that. It's not overplaying just for the sake of overplaying. It's play just what you need to play. And sometimes they make the simple stuff. They make the difficult stuff sound simple. That's the real sign of a real musician, just to play what the song needs and not just playing stuff to make yourself look good. Kim says he repairs guitars and show of some new ones. I don't understand. I repair guitars and show of with some new ones. I guess show off with some new ones. I'm not sure. That's cool, Kim. If you have have a website that you want people to know about, feel free to mention it here, and we can share it with the rest of the viewers. We have James from Portugal, and he says, hello, Portugal, from a descendant in C, Connecticut. Enjoy the show. Thank you, James. So what else? I was talking about my influences, and the funny story is that Van Halen, even until today, I enjoy listening to their music, but I still can't play most of the stuff. I still try. I've tried over and over to learn Eruption as a whole music piece, and I decided to at one point say, okay, I'm going to just stop and learn it section by section. But I guess I have a little bit of attention disorder deficit, because I can't stick to it long enough to learn the entire thing. I'm sure I could pick it up. It's just, I guess, it's a question of time too. I know you're saying excuses, but maybe one day I'll take that challenge. Maybe I'll do a 30-day learn how to play Eruption challenge. That would kind of force me to do it and put my ass on the line if I say it in my videos that I'm going to do it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. Hey, Francis. How's it going? Francis says, I like your last riff tutorials. I enjoyed listening and seeing your PRS. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, the riff tutorials is something I'm trying out now, and just to see if people are interested in that, because I want to try and really play more. I spend a lot of my time producing videos, recording videos, and hacking around with gear. And unfortunately, I don't spend enough time practicing. So I want to try and encourage myself to squeeze in some practice time. And I figured that would be a good way of doing it, would be to offer you guys a riff of the week type thing, where I take a little, easy riff to play, not too advanced, and share it with you guys and show you how to play it. And if you guys like that, I would appreciate you letting me know, because obviously I want to produce content that you guys like, and I'm glad to hear that you enjoy that, Francis. That's very encouraging. So I keep getting sidetracked with the Van Halen story. So, like I mentioned, I still am very influenced with Van Halen and their music, and Eddie Van Halen's playing has always intrigued me a lot. And eventually, I really would love to be able to play like him. But the sad thing is that I don't know if you guys know, but David Lee Roth is doing shows in Vegas right now, and he's playing the Van Halen music with a cover band, and it's so sad. I have to say, first of all, I'm going to be the first one to admit it. David Lee Roth cannot sing anymore. He's totally tone deaf. I don't know why, but totally like if you watch these videos on YouTube, you'll be able to find them. It's sad. You see this old guy still trying to like strut his stuff, but he's basically an old man now, you know, and you're trying to relive the stuff that you've done in the 70s, and the songs are terrible because he's just always off key, and he's trying to do his Diamond Dave stuff that doesn't really fly anymore. So it's kind of like going back and watching Jaws today, and you're like, wow, this stuff is really like corny now, and it was really great at the time. So he hasn't aged well, and I think he should kind of stop because it's embarrassing. And I think that, you know, even the band that he's playing with, it's like a glorified Van Halen cover band. And the funny thing is, there's cover bands today that do Van Halen stuff better than he does. So it's, I don't know. I think it's just a money grab. I understand he's getting older and he needs to pay the bills, but you know, there's got to be other ways for him to do that. Francis has a question for me, so I'll answer it. He says he wants to know how much shipping and customs is from Toman to Montreal. I guess you saw my video, though, the last one that I put up, where I got a beautiful Harley Benton Fusion II guitar. And I gotta say, guys, I'm really impressed by the quality of these guitars. Really impressed. I took a chance to get one. I've seen so many videos. It's a lot of stuff on YouTube on the Harley Benton stuff. Some of them good, some of them bad, depending on which model it is. And the one I got, it's actually right here. I was playing it earlier. This guy. So the one I got here, if you can see it, this is the Fusion 2. And I did an unboxing video. So for those of you that are interested, definitely check it out. Great guitar, man. I gotta say, I have expensive guitars in my collection, namely the Sir. And honestly, guys, and I'm not bullshitting you, it's a great guitar. It's really set up really nice. Maybe I got lucky with a guitar that didn't have any issues, because I know some people have issues with the guitars that they receive. They just have defects or imperfections or whatnot, or they get damaged in shipping. Mine luckily came in one piece, even after the box was destroyed by the postal service, unfortunately. But the guitar itself is a real gem, and I'm gonna be doing a full review on this guitar for you guys, because I'm so amazed by the quality that you're getting for the money. Sub $500 basically. You're getting a fantastic guitar that I would easily compare to guitars that cost over $1,000 and more. Fantastic value. So if you guys are interested in these type of guitars, definitely pick one up while you still can. Tell them I sent you, and definitely you're gonna get way more than what you're paying for in terms of value with these guitars. So to get back to your question, Francis, it depends on what you're ordering. If you're just ordering a guitar, you're probably going to end up paying somewhere around $80 for customs and duties. So factor that in. But even with that additional cost, they're still fantastic values, these guitars. Amazing. Actually made in Indonesia. I thought they were being made in China. And I figured with all the hoopla that's happening in China that there would be some delays with orders. And I don't think they're making them. They might be making other models in China that I'm not aware of, but this model is definitely made in Indonesia. And that's the thing with the coronavirus right now, and you'll notice probably that if you're trying to order any kind of gear from China, that there's going to be delays. It's affecting everything. It's affecting manufacturing, employment, employees. Everything's basically shut down. So if you ordered something recently from China, you might not get it for quite a while. It usually takes like a month to get stuff from China anyway. But with all the issues that are going on, I know some of the people that I deal with for different products that I review have told me straight out there's a shitstorm happening right now, and it's affecting everything. I mean, people can't go outside. Basically the government has said to the people in China, you can only get one person out of the house at a time to go get food and rations and that kind of stuff, stay out of the streets. They're basically quarantining any kind of event that requires a big group of people to get together. So, the big party that they normally have, Chinese New Year, is humongous, and they kind of canceled that. They were stopping people from going to theaters, movie theaters, and whatnot. So it's affecting everything. It really is. So, if you can get your instruments from another source, I would recommend you do that for the next little while. I had some products that were supposed to come in, and I have a feeling it's going to be delayed. So. Vox Guitars has another question. He says, what would you recommend for a lower watt tube practice amp looking for that page tone? Yeah, we're all looking for that page tone. I'm looking for that page tone too. I would have to ask you first what your budget is, because budget, there's a big variety of selection depending on what you're willing to spend. So tell me what you're willing to spend, and I'll give you some suggestions. And thanks for the nice comment regarding the Riff tutorials. I'm glad you like them too. I'll keep it going as long as I can. And hopefully you guys can learn a couple of my riffs. And we have another new face here that I haven't seen before. Wiener Bossel? Is that how you pronounce it? My butchering your name? And he's in Germany. Wow. Again, it's like the United Colors of Benetton here today. We're getting a lot of people from overseas in Europe. That's fantastic. Glad to see you. Glad to see you joining us here. I'm trying to do this live Sunday stream on a regular basis because, I enjoy talking with you guys. An hour's worth of my time is not a huge effort. It's just a question of getting the house when it's still in quiet mode. So Sunday is perfect for me for that. Otherwise, things are pretty chaotic around here. An hour with my friends talking about gear that I love so much. What else would I rather be doing on Sunday morning? So Werner from Germany, are you a big fan of the Thomann stuff since it's in your neighborhood? Do you own any Harley Benton guitars, or do you buy any stuff from them? I guess they're pretty big. They're probably one of the biggest music distributors in Germany, if I'm not mistaken. Kim, I'll check out some of your reviews on your Harley Bentons. What Harley Benton guitars do you have? And let me know what your channel is called. Yeah, it is the year of the rat in China. It's true. So I don't know if it's a bad omen, the year of the rat. I know the year of the dragon is supposed to be the amazing year, but the year of the rat, I don't think it has a good reputation. So I guess it's true with all that's happening right now. I guess it's true to the nature of the rat being a carrier of disease and whatever else. So for a good quality amplifier under $650 for that page sound, let me think. You know, 650 bucks, I guess you would probably be better off looking in the used market, because brand new, you don't really get much for 650 bucks. Um, I want to say maybe like Marshall DSL. It's not really the page sound, but for the budget that you're after, it's kind of, you know, in the ballpark. But are you looking for something for live playing or just to play at home? Because if you want to play at home and you have 650 bucks to spend, what I would recommend, and it's probably more versatile if it's just for home playing, is go for a Hotone Ampero multi effects unit. I've been very impressed by the one I purchased, and I haven't made many videos on it yet, but it's like 500 bucks, and you can definitely program it to get those page tones to the T and a lot more, and you have a lot of other built-in things like a tuner. You have all the pedals and the effects. You have a looper. You have an effects pedal on it. You can go into your recording gear if you want to record stuff with it. It's a lot more versatile for home and studio recording than an amplifier would be around that price range. Winner says, I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm sure I am. Werner. So Werner says he's been watching my channel for a long time. I appreciate that, buddy. And he says Tolman is around 500 kilometers away. Oops. So I guess you would have to order online like everyone else. Still, they're kicking ass right now. I think they're doing a fantastic job with their social media activity and marketing, and they're managing to get the Tolman name out there quite well. Quite everybody's got one of these Harley Benton guitars right now. We got Can in the house, and he's from Prague, Czech Republic. Amazing. Guys, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed. And he says many people buy from Tolman here as well. I get it. I get it. I mean, Tolman, like I said, they're doing a great job. They're advertising their gear. They're getting it out there. They're using the Andertons approach by putting a lot of stuff on social media, specifically on YouTube, working with a lot of people that are influencers, and that's the way to do it today. So I'm gonna give Kim's Workshop a shout out. Kim is in the house, and he's got a YouTube channel as well. Kim's Workshop is the name of the channel. So guys, please check out his channel, and I'll do the same. Kim, if you can give me a shout out on your channel as well, I would appreciate that. Are you in Kim? You mentioned where you're from? Are you in Canada, Kim, or are you somewhere else? Lynette. Hi, Lynette. How are you doing today? You say not too chaotic here yet. I usually get distracted from live streams. Yeah, so do I. So do I. We've got another Canadian in the house. Philip is in the house, and he's from Ontario. So just around the corner from me, Philip. Nice to see you here today. Thank you for joining our group. Francis DeMarzio says, hey Tony, do you have any tips for new YouTubers like myself? How long have you been doing the YouTube thing, Francis? Just curious. Henry Hartley's in the house, all the way from the UK. Kim's workshop is from Denmark. So Denmark, I've never had the opportunity to visit Denmark, Kim, but I hear it's a great place. Definitely would like to get an opportunity to go there one day. Maybe pay you a visit if I'm in the neighborhood. So Philip says there are lots of great low wattage tube amps out there. I suggest going to some stores and to sound test yourself. I agree, but again, he's looking at an amp at about $650. So I guess if you're looking at that price range, I guess I would maybe suggest something in the PV line, like a Classic 30, something like that. If you're going new, if you're going used, you could probably get maybe even the amplifier I have my eye on right now is a bass breaker from Fender, the 30R. The 15 is nice too. That's what I have here. I have a 15 bass breaker 15 head. You could probably get them used around that price range. The problem is that there's not that many that I've seen used right now, so people are hanging on to them. They're great sounding amplifiers, and they could probably do the Led Zeppelin thing quite well, because you do have a great variation in gain structures with these amps. And I do think they sound better than the PV stuff, the Classic 30, which I've owned in the past. I think these definitely sound better, and they do have nice features on them. So maybe look for something like that in the used market around your place and see if you can come up with something there. They're great amplifiers. I like them a lot. Francis says he's been doing the YouTube thing for 4 months. Any advice? The advice I can give you, Francis, is pretty basic stuff. You probably already know this. It's a question of building up your following, which takes a long time. I've been doing YouTube videos for over 10 years, and unfortunately, I've only gotten serious about it in the last couple of years. I was just trickling out stuff once in a blue moon, just doing my own thing, and I decided to do a little bit more. And I'm glad I am doing that because I'm meeting all you great guys out there, and we're sharing a lot of great information regarding gear. It's like a big family. And the challenge with YouTube really is the throttling of the videos. If you haven't already noticed, what's happening with YouTube is that they're throttling down. They're making it harder for people to break in to getting a bigger audience because they don't want to pay everybody. So the new rules say that you have to basically get a certain amount of followers before you can actually start monetizing your ads, which is really a pain because you're not being paid for any of your work. And even if you can monetize your ads later on, you don't get paid much. People have the misconception that you can automatically make $1 million on YouTube, and it's only a few people that manage to do that kind of stuff on YouTube. Especially if you're not putting content out on a daily basis. So my advice to you would be to try and create as much content as you can. And if you can create content on a regular basis every day or every 2 days, that's the golden formula. Just a lot of content, share it on other social media channels, and build up your following, build up your brand. And hopefully you're talking about stuff that people are interested in, and you can get them to come back for more. There's no real magic to it. It's just a lot of hard work. Try and get your videos recorded properly. Try and get some decent lighting and recording gear. And it's expensive. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I do that, I mean, nobody pays me for the gear that I use, the time that it takes to create videos. It's a lot of work. So you have to have the stamina to be able to do that long term. Philip Cochran says, I have a vintage Marshall JCM 800, but use a Blackstar HTS as a daily driver. Get tone for under $500. The Blackstar stuff is not bad. I agree with you. Yeah. The JCM is way better, but it's probably too loud for what you're trying to do at home. I used to have a JTM 800 also. Great amplifier, beefy sound, but just too loud unless you use an attenuator at home. honestly, guys, I'm going these days for home use. I'm really going to multi-effects units, and I think you can get a really nice multi-effects unit today for about $500 brand new. So what else did I want to talk about today? You guys can keep chatting amongst yourselves in the meantime. You're very welcome, Francis. Anything I can do to help you, man? I definitely would try and help as many people out there as I can. So beyond the Harley Benton Fusion II guitar that I picked up, I also picked up this guy here. Maybe some of you guys might be interested in this. Maybe you're not. Who knows? I haven't even taken it out of the packaging yet. It's basically a Thunder 99 power amp. I don't know if you know, if you guys even know what this is. But this basically allows you to create a rig where you can use this as a power amplifier. So if you go play someplace and you don't want to lug around an amplifier, you can actually take this and go through the front of house or the monitors that you're playing through with some other pedals. It basically acts like an amplifier on your pedal board. And I haven't tried it yet, but I have high expectations that it's going to do the job. We'll see, because it's hard to gauge how good it's going to be through some of the YouTube videos that I've seen lately. Now the thing is, the only gotcha is that when I ordered this, I didn't realize that they were going to ship it with one of these guys, which is a power supply, and also I didn't realize that they were going to ship it with this. This is a European plug. You guys in Europe recognize this for sure, right? But I can't use this plug here, so I'm kind of stuck, right? So now what I need to do is I need to get something that I can use that will plug into this guy, and I can plug into my power here. The only issue is I'm not an electrician or anything like that. I don't know if I can just change the plug. It says here that the input is 100 to 240 volts, 2.8 amp max, 50 to 60 hertz. So if I have any guys that are whizzes in terms of electronics, can you let me know if am I going to blow this thing up if I plug in a regular Canadian power outlet into this thing here? I don't know. It's kind of a bummer. I thought if they were shipping these things internationally, they would come with a different power adapter. So if that doesn't work, I'm going to have to ship it back to them, unfortunately, and maybe select something else. But I want to use it because I want to try and get a secondary pedal board going that I can actually use for when I don't want to have to lug different amplifiers, and I can use to play live where I can plug into a rig and basically use pedals like this guy here, the little Hotone or Hot One Omni IR, where you can load some IRs directly in this pedal. It's very small, so if you take this and you go into the power amplifier, you could actually make it sound like you're playing through a cab, and then you can still have other pedals that you can use for your delays and reverbs and drive like you normally would, and a small pedal board that's going to be pretty flexible. So Kim says that is a 220 volt power cable. You need to convert it to 110. I don't want to put a converter in there. Eek. That sucks, man. I think I'm going to send it back to them. Honestly, I don't want to have the power brick and a converter. No, that's no good. What I probably will have to end up doing then, yeah, I think I'm going to have to send them back. Sucks. Oh well. Philip is asking, Henry, do you have that combo or head and cab? I have the head with a 112 Randall cab. Randall cabs are pretty good, guys. If you guys are using Randall cabs right now, they're pretty inexpensive, and they're built quite well. So you can get a lot of bang for your buck with those cabinets. So I have a question for you guys. Do any of you guys currently build your own guitars, like part caster guitars, where you're basically building a guitar from parts to your specific specs? Because I was thinking about doing some videos on that as well. I have a couple of ideas of things lined up, and I have some. I ended up picking up. Actually, I didn't show you guys. I might as well show you it. I have it right here. I ended up picking up a body for a project, and if I can pull this thing out, it's jammed in here pretty good. This is the right way to package bodies, guys. If you're dealing with companies out there that are shipping bodies, check how well this thing is packaged. It blew my mind. It's like totally mummified in this foam. Check this out. Oops, upside down. Check this out. This is going to be another project. Beautiful body. Look at this thing. I don't know if you can see this. Let me pull it up. But look how great the packaging is. It's like a custom formed foam insert to protect your guitar. I wish some other companies, I won't name names, would do the same thing. Alright. This is a body I picked up recently on eBay, which is a 3-tone sunburst vintage style body that is going to be used on one of my projects. It's a nitro finish, extremely light, super light body, and you can see it has the vintage style pickup cavities, and I can't wait to start this project. So I was thinking I'd either take this body and use a neck that I have already on some other guitar here, because I really enjoy the 63 style necks on the Fender, or I would have to buy another neck and put it on here. The thing is, I'm nervous about buying necks without trying them first, because they're oftentimes they're not what I want, and so then I have to like live with it for a while. So I prefer to get a guitar that I have already and swap the neck on it if I don't like the rest of the body. But I like the nitro because it's going to age so nicely. It's going to end up being like one of my road worn Strats that I have eventually, because it definitely will get nicked and scratched up. That's why I love the nitro so much. So I have that project in mind. I don't know when I'm going to actually build it, because I have to get the neck for it. But I'm keeping my eyes open for a great neck. And if I can find one at a reasonable price, I will pick it up. And it gives me something to do on a rainy day. I really enjoy building my own Partcaster guitars, because I can get them to play exactly, grab the box here, exactly like I like them to play, without having to spend $1,000 on them. And I'm pretty sure that when I'm finished, they will play better than what Fender's putting out right now. So I have no worries about building my own stuff. I actually enjoy it. So that's why I wanted to ask if you guys do the same. If any of you guys have experience in doing that kind of stuff. Now, the other thing is, speaking of Fender, is that I noticed that Fender recently was in the news. Why? Because, well, a couple of things. First, they were fined for price fixing. Big surprise, right, guys? Fender fixing the prices. If you've seen what the prices on the Fender guitars are selling for these days, you won't be surprised by that, because they're trying to up the price overall in their product portfolio for guitars. It's really crazy. Everything's just going up and up and up. So they actually got fined for that. They got caught doing that, and basically they got slapped on the wrist. Not a huge fine for them, but still, you know, it's not a good thing for the consumers. And that was the first thing that Fender was in the news for. And they're also apparently there's a change in ownership with Fender, and this is something that I saw recently. And I don't know what this means, but apparently the longtime investor company, which is called Cervico Pacific, acquired the majority shares in the iconic brand Fender. So what does that mean? Are things going to change within Fender? I don't know. Probably not. But it's interesting that they're now a majority stake owner in Fender, and you know, there's a lot of Fender is a big corporation. There's a lot of things happening in terms of where they're getting their money from and how they're working that side of things. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not that actually changes anything for them. We'll see. It's interesting though. They kind of didn't mention anything. It was pretty quiet, like it was a hush-hush type of thing. But I'm disappointed to hear that Fender's taking advantage of people with their price fixing. I mean, that's not a good thing to do. Honestly, guys, come on. What else I want to talk about? Gear. So obviously, going back to gear, there's cool things that have happened since NAMM, and I think you guys probably have had plenty of time now to find some interesting new products that maybe you want to purchase. Gibson, the Epiphonies, the new line of Epiphonies, I call them, because whatever, fake Gibsons. It's funny that, you know, they're pushing this whole buy authentic marketing ploy. Basically, you have to buy Gibson, otherwise, if you don't buy Gibson, you're not buying authentic. But now they're doing a big push with Epiphone. I'm just kidding, guys. But they're convincing people now that if they buy the Epiphone brands, then they're getting some amazing stuff. So it's okay to buy authentic, but if you don't buy authentic, then you should buy an Epiphone. Kind of weird. Anyway, so the first thing I have to say about that is the whole buy authentic, I guess the drama around that thing. Sorry, I gotta just, oh. The whole drama around that thing was a big pie in the face for Gibson as a whole. We all know what happened. If you guys don't know what happened, just check out some of my previous Gibson videos. You'll find a video there where I talk about it. It's pretty embarrassing. And basically what ended up happening was that they had a marketing campaign where they were saying buy authentic and or play authentic, whatever, same thing. And it turned out to be a big flop because they ended up also threatening companies, other music guitar manufacturers that were kind of like getting a little bit close to the Gibson style in their guitars, and they were threatening them and whatnot. And anyways, what ended up happening was that they got blasted from many different directions, including a lot of YouTubers for doing that. And Mark from what's it called? Rare Guitars, Norm's Rare Guitars. He was an employee there, and he ended up joining Gibson at that time and ended up giving the presentation or the video that sparked the whole thing. And they basically blasted Mark for basically threatening other guitar manufacturers for building Gibson style guitars. So it ended up, he took the brunt of the shit that flew after that video, but it was released recently. They announced that the CEO, James Curley, I guess that's how you pronounce his last name, who looks like a real winner, and CMO Caesar, I can't even pronounce his name, Caesar something or other, they announced that the big idea behind this was Caesar's idea. And he says that it was one of his biggest mistakes, right? Well, that's true, but the bigger mistake is waiting so many months after the fact to fess up to it. I mean, seriously, if you're throwing somebody under the bus, the best thing you can do is fess up right away and say, "Hey guys, it's not his fault. It's not Mark's fault. It was my fault. I take the blame for it." So it shows a little bit of lack of judgment and character. Starting right at the top of the chain in command from Gibson, which is not a good thing, guys. Seriously, if you fuck up, just say it, man. Fess up. So, anyways, that was a little discouraging to hear that, and I guess it actually came out now that they're admitting um, that they fucked up, and at least it's better late than never. But it would have been better if they would have done it right away. I guess they were taking damage control into consideration or whatever. So, anyways, long story short, after that, now they're doing this big thing with the new Epiphone models that they've released at NAMM. They actually released 28 new models, the funny thing is that they're saying that it's inspired by the Gibson line. Right? So it's okay for Gibson to inspire themselves with overseas copies, and you can buy those at an inflated cost, no problem. But if you buy anything else that looks like a Gibson from anywhere else, well, then you're not doing something right. So it's kind of like you're being I don't want to use nasty words, but you're kind of being like very hypocritical about it, really. It's like, come on. Anyway, and the idea behind these new models is they have a whole bunch of them. They really don't look much different from the older models, to be honest with you. They still have the DOT 335 model. They have the DOT Deluxe now, which is coming. It's offered with a flame top. It looks a little bit nicer, but it still has the ugly headstock. I thought they got rid of those headstocks, but they didn't. Then there's the 339, which is a smaller body 335 shape guitar, which they call the 339 Pro. And I mean, the price range on these guitars are not that expensive. Like the 339 is MSRPing for about $499, which is not bad considering. But then they have the Les Paul Jr. They have the Thunderbird Vintage Pro for those of you who like the Vintage Pro style guitars. The Thunderbird style Junior is retailing for about $379, which is not bad. Not bad. For those of you that are eyeing the Thomann stuff, I guess with shipping and duties, you might end up just getting an Epiphone. Then they have the Flying V. They have a whole bunch of models. They have the Flying V is nice. They have the Firebird. They have the Les Paul Custom in white. Les Paul Standard 50 style gold top. They have a whole bunch. So you can check those out. I mean, they're retailing for, $500 or $600 US, which I guess would end up being, with taxes in Canada and the exchange, still about just under $1,000 probably. I'm not giving them away, but if you can't afford a Gibson and you want to get something made by the same manufacturer, you might end up doing that. They have a really nice Les Paul Special, which is single cutaway style 50s type body with mahogany body and the classic TV yellow, and it's going for about $399, which is not bad. The Thomann stuff, I was eyeing, actually. I wanted to maybe get something like that from Thomann because it was pretty inexpensive, but the color was off. Their TV yellow was not the right color. And until I hope they will get that fixed, and then it would encourage me to buy. But they actually have another one that they've announced. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to sell it, where it's not TV yellow, it's like a reddish tint, and it's not a glossy finish in poly. It's actually a matte finish, a thin matte finish, which look quite sexy. So I'm curious to see when they're going to start releasing those. I might pick one of those up for sure. So anyways, they have this a whole bunch of new Epiphones lined up and ready to go. So I guess they're doing a big push with the Epiphone series. So if you guys are interested in taking a look at some of those They might be appearing at your local shops soon. And take a look at it. You never know, you might be pleased by what you find. I still find they're still expensive, but whatever. Eventually pick one up on the used market if need be. But I really have no, I don't know, I'm not attracted by the Epiphones for some reason. I don't know why. It's a psychological thing, probably, I know, because I could pick up some other guitars that are also made overseas, just like the Epiphones are, but I just don't feel attracted in buying an Epiphone. My dog is snoring again. She's over there. Can you hear her? She snores pretty loud. She just likes to stay here, so I'm not going to bother her. Yeah, Philip brought up a good point where the Gibson destroyed a whole bunch of Firebird X guitars. They just ran over them with this big excavator, and that was like disgusting to see, honestly. Like, I know that they can't sell these products and they're obliged to take them off the market, but they could have easily turned a negative into a positive just by donating these guitars over to some schools, underprivileged children, music programs, and just give it to them. And but they ended up destroying them. It was hard to watch, man. Paul says the best Epi is the all original Uptown Cat Semi. It's not a Gibson copy guitar. Never tried it, Paul. I don't know. I can't yea or nay that. I'll take a look at some of these specs on it. Phil also says, I have a vintage Epiphone LP. It rocks. I think that the older Les Pauls, the Epiphone Les Pauls, were probably built better than they're doing now. I think they're probably cutting down on the quality just so that they can make more profit, have a wider profit margin on them. I don't know. I don't want to assume, but that's my gut feeling. So it's 11 o'clock, guys. We've been chatting for about an hour. We're going to wrap it up, I guess, soon. Is there anything else that I wanted to talk about here? One of the things I want to talk, since we're talking about Gibson and Epiphone, one of the things I wanted to talk about was Phil X. I think you guys probably know Phil. If any of you guys are following YouTubers, Phil is a very cool guy, fellow Canadian, rock star YouTuber, and he really seems like a good guy. And he's also playing for Bon Jovi now. He's a killer guitarist, by the way, I have to say, and I really enjoy the videos that he puts out because he really does. He had a lot of charisma, really rock and roll type of guy. He reminds me a little bit of Dave Grohl. I don't know if it's the hair, but he's rock and roll for sure. And he's playing with Bon Jovi, and he was previously using frameless guitars. And before that, I think he was using Yamaha guitars. And he, I guess, got an endorsement deal with Gibson, which is great for him because he's going to be having some really nice guitars. But I'm curious because I'm wondering, like, he's always played guitars that were kind of like his own style. Like, he never was really playing a guitar off the shelf. Kind of like Eddie Van Halen, he liked to customize things and pull out the pickups in certain guitars and lay it out differently. So I'm wondering if they're going to come out with a Phil X model specifically for him. I'm curious to see what he's going to end up playing. I don't know, but I always picture Phil playing a semi-hollow guitar, but maybe that's the the connection I have between Phil and Dave Grohl, because Dave, that Foo Fighters sound is a semi-hollow guitar. But I don't think he'd be able to play the semi-hollow thing with Bon Jovi, because it really has its own tone happening. So I'm wondering, and I'm very curious to see what he's going to end up playing, what kind of guitar they're going to give him. But I'm sure it's going to be quite out there in terms of styling. I don't think they mention it. He had his own famous XG guitar signature, Phil X. And so I'm wondering what they're going to do in terms of building a guitar for him. It's going to be cool to see. Cool to see. I'm going to be keeping my eyes open on that. There's a killer video of Phil, and if you find it, you'll see it. He's playing a concert somewhere. Well, it's a show somewhere, and it's him mostly with a drummer, and he's just going bananas, playing crazy licks. He really is an amazing performer, this guy, and I enjoy watching him. So Phil, if you're watching this, big thumbs up to you, man. Keep it up. You're really an inspiration to a lot of people out there, and you seem like a really down-to-earth guy. So one of my favorite guitarists on YouTube for sure. I'm not a big Bon Jovi fan. If I'm watching Bon Jovi videos, it's really to watch Phil X. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up. It's 11 o'clock. We're past the 1 hour mark. I'm just gonna look if there's any other questions that I need to answer before I go. Let's see here. Henry says that the great alternative to Gibson or Epiphone is a Tokai. Had a frameless guitar and it was a beautiful thing. I agree with you on the Tokai, Henry. I have two, and I love them, and I play them more often than my Gibsons. So, what does that say? So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining me for this live event. I really had a good time. I hope that you guys will tune in regularly for my other events, and also to tune into my videos, because I'll be trickling out some more videos on a regular basis, and definitely be doing a review on the Harley Benton that I have here. I know you guys are curious about that one, and hopefully maybe I'll get some other Harley Benton models in as well. I wanted to mention this. I got this quarter from it's an American quarter, and it's a I don't know if I can show this to you. It's going to be really small to see. It's a 2002 quarter, 1796. I guess it's commemorating the musical heritage, the American musical heritage, and I kept it because it has a guitar on it, a violin, and a trumpet, and I thought it was cool. I don't know if you can see. Can you see that? It's hard to see. Anyway, trust me, it's cool. Acoustic guitar on there, so I kept it. Can you see that? It's kind of like a good luck quarter. I didn't realize that they existed when I came across it. I'm in Canada, so I don't see a lot of American quarters. I'm going to keep that one. So that's it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great Sunday. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And don't drink too much. Don't drink and drive. And don't bet too much. Hopefully you won't lose too much money if your favorite team ends up losing. Hopefully not. So thank you once again for all the great comments, the friendly and very sweet words from all of you guys, of sweet words of support. And I'll be looking forward to checking out you guys' comments on the video as it gets posted live on YouTube. And I'll still answer any questions you may have on any of the topics we discussed here today. So please don't be shy. Definitely leave your comments and spread the word. And definitely subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. So thank you once again to all my friends in Europe. And hope to see you guys soon. Stay tuned.